Hey everybody, it's Jurius Doctor, and I'm back again with a video on ship fitting. This is part one of a 5-part series on ship fitting for Newbros. This is just to cover the basics and to get you mentally aware of what ship fitting is and how to do it, and at least get your feet wet. I will probably expand on this video series later with an advanced series videos, but stay tuned. So to get started, this is 101. This is the absolute basics. We're going to cover just the description of the things that you need to know, what it is that you need to be able to put into your ship to make it go, make it function, to make it useful. And in essence, ship fitting is the practice of equipping a vessel with offensive, defensive, and support technologies. And I'm going to explain how different modules fit in different places and everything else. Now, ship bonuses. Every vessel in New Eden is designed to suit a particular purpose, and as such, possesses role bonus which reflect its intended design purpose. What this means is, and I'll pull an example out of the air, if you're flying a combat frigate and you fit it up like you want to be a logistics frigate, meaning that you're putting repair modules on a combat frigate, not only will people laugh at you when you die, but you'll be hilariously ineffective. Because that is not a ship that is bonused for repairing other ships. You want to suit the ship to its purpose. And every ship in the game produces power grid and CPU. So power grid is how much power the systems will push out, and again, how many modules they can fit before they run out of power. If you're putting something on your ship, you need to be able to turn it on for it to be effective, and you need to be able to maintain it as it flies. Same thing goes for CPU. All those things that you're bolting onto your ship to power up, to make you effective in combat, they all need a computer or a certain amount of compute load to operate them when you're flying through space. If you run out of power grid or you run out of CPU, you will not be able to fit more modules onto your ship. And this is, again, within the limits of the number of slots that your ship has got. Now, let's talk about ship bonuses. We're going to go back to this because this is really important to understand. Let's look at the Rifter combat frigate. This is a Minmatar combat frigate. It gets a bonus to projectile weapons because the Minmatar favored guns. Big guns that shoot bullets through space. They work just like the guns we have today. The Rifter combat frigate gets a +5 bonus to rate of fire and a +10 bonus to fall off. It shoots 5% faster for each level of the skill Minmatar frigate that you have. The Minmatar frigate has a maximum of 5 levels. So for each of those 5 levels, you get an extra 5% maximum rate of fire to a maximum of 25% over the base. You get an extra 50% bonus to fall off. Fall off is the distance at which your guns stop dealing their maximum damage, but still do damage. This basically increases how far that fall off distance extends. This makes this a frigate which is suited largely to shooting at people and dealing damage. You would not want to take a Rifter combat frigate and try to make it a support vessel because that is not its intended purpose. Now, understanding ship equipment. There are high slots, medium slots, low slots, and rig slots. I'm going to cover what these do so that you have a better idea in your head. High slots is predominantly external hardened structured hardpoints designed to carry guns, missiles, targeting systems, and drone control systems. Mid slots are utility installations. They are typically used for things that are powered by and run by the ship's power grid and CPU. These are systems for energy projection. These are your webs, your points, your control systems, your electronic countermeasures, your shields, energy transfer systems. These are the things that basically allow you to project computer-controlled fields in space. Low slots, or systems to help take that energy in. Low slots are integrated systems. These are your armor, your compute modules, your extra power grid. These are power control systems. These are shield amplifiers. These are systems which augment the function of the ship itself. Rig slots are bolt-on bonuses. So if you've watched Star Wars, and you've watched any of the recent Star Wars, you'll hear Han Solo talk about modifications to the Millennium Falcon. Sometimes they're useful, and sometimes Rey just needs to rip that thing right out of the ship. That's how it goes. But when she rips that compressor off of the Millennium Falcon, it destroys the compressor. Rigs in this game work the same way. You can put them in to change the base functionality of the modules they're connected to or the ship that they're put into, but they're combustible or comestibles in the sense that when you tear them out, they cease to function. They're a one-time use. You put them in, they work as long as you leave them there. You take them out again, they stop working, they're destroyed. Now, again, I'm going to cover this again just for those people in the back who weren't listening. High slots are for targeting and dealing damage, or for extending the ship's capacity to deal damage, like drone lakes. Also, for absorbing or stealing energy from other ships. So like any offensive modules that would target the other ship. Mid slots are for mobility, protection, and power. You want to add an extra large battery to your ship systems, or you want to put on a shield projection system so that you can amplify the shields of another ship. That's where you'd put them. These are your mid slots. Low slots are for protection and core systems. So hull amplifications, armor, expanded cargo holds, anything that alters the base functionality of the ship hull itself. And rigs are for modifying any of the above. Now, an example might be if you had a Mar frigate, or if you had a Mar destroyer, you might have pulse or beam weapons, a afterburner in the mid slots, and a damage control in the lows, with a rig to give you extra CPU for fitting room, especially if you're trying to fit T2 weapons. And in a Galente frigate or destroyer, you may have a drone link augmenter to increase your drone control range, a shield extender to increase your buffer for your shields, a shield flux coil or amplifier in your lows to increase the recharge speed or the capacity of your shields, and then a rig that extends that shield capacity. It's called a screen reinforcer. So you will see different fits on different ships that make sense based on the bonus of that ship and the role you're trying to fill. Let's talk about the fitting window itself. Where do these things go? So here, using the example of the Rifter from my first slide, we're going to talk about high slots, medium slots, and low slots. These are where they physically fit. So highs are called highs because they're at the top of the screen, mids are mids because they're the medium right of the screen, and low because they're at the bottom. One would think that that's fairly obvious, but if you're listening to this in your car, make sure you go back and watch the video itself, because I do actually explain with a slide and little arrows pointing out where things are. Rigs are to the left of your high slots, and that is where you fit the rigs. Now, rigs have another metric that they follow in addition to CPU and power grid, and that is calibration, because you can only really jury rig a ship so far before you start breaking how things work. Calibration is a measure of how much you can, pardon the language, fuck up your ship before it starts falling apart at the seams. If you exceed your ship's maximum calibration, you can no longer fit ship modifications. Each rig module, or each rig unit, has a certain calibration that is calculated against the ship's calibration score to allow you to fit things. So you may find that if you want 2 or 3 different rigs that deal damage, you may have to pick 2 because the calibration on those modules tends to be a little bit higher, and you may only be able to fit 2. Whereas if you added something that increases your capacity of your shields or the speed at which your ship travels when it has an afterburner or a prop turned on, you might also be able to fit that because it uses less calibration. So you can pick and choose to try to get the right balance of stats modifications that you want based on the objective you're trying to fill. And again, rigs are consumable. For every ship in the game except strategic cruisers, it's a special category of tier 3 cruisers, if you take a rig off, they're destroyed. Rigs are also fairly expensive, so choose wisely. With the exception of strategic cruisers again. Strategic cruisers have a very special role because the whole ship is modular, and it only makes sense that you should be able to take systems in and out. Rigs, when removed, are destroyed as part of stripping the fit. Now, one of the things that you'll see in your menu when you right-click on your ship, one of the options is strict fitting. If you choose that, it will ask you, are you sure you want to proceed? Any rigs fitted to the ship will be destroyed. And you'll say yes, And then those rigs are gone and all the modules that refit your ship just show up in your cargo hold. It's an easy way to say, you know what, I'm not happy with this fit. I want to strip everything off and refit the ship. Expanding your character's competencies. Skills is really important because fitting skills fit predominantly into the same category as core skills. And I have a video on core skills. You should watch it. I will definitely add it as a video at the end of this video you can click on. Each of the fitting skills will help you be more effective in PvE and PvP. And primary fitting skills are power grid management, CPU management, weapon upgrades, advanced weapon upgrades, shield upgrades, electronics upgrades, energy grid upgrades, hull upgrades, jury rigging. And jury rigging has multiple sub-skills, but I'm going to mention just 3 here: shield rigging, armor rigging, and drone rigging. And then, of course, there are mining upgrades, because PvP isn't the only thing that happens in EVE, but when it comes to modifying your ship, these are the primary upgrades that you're going to look at, skills that factor into upgrades you'll use for your ship and modules. Now, when we expand on that, and we look at expanding your ship's competencies, you see in one place we're talking about what your character knows and can do, and then there's the capacity to expand what your ship has and can do. Fitting modules expand what your ship can fit. That's the purpose of them. They are a module that takes up a slot, and in return it increases the capacity of your ship to put more things on. Think about it like putting extra RAM in your computer or extra storage in your computer. Yeah, you can now put in, more programs or run more programs simultaneously, but you're sacrificing a space in your computer for that extra hard drive, for that extra RAM. Fitting modules and rigs are things like coprocessors, reactor control units, auxiliary power controls, power diagnostic systems, rigs like the ancillary current routers and processor overclocking units. And these are all modules that, in exchange for losing a space that you might use for another module, increase your ship's capacity to be effective in a particular way. Thank you. I hope that this video has helped explain some of the things that you've been looking at. Stay tuned. There are 4 more videos in this series coming to you. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments section below or send me an email in-game. Message me on Discord. I'm up there pretty much everywhere. Twitter works too. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and look forward to talking to you guys in the future. Cheers.